Yeah, that'd be bad.
Speaking of Diddy, Trump's going to release the Diddy files.
I hope so.
Let's see. Oh, well, hello there. Welcome to Max Revenue Special Edition Comp Confessions of a Mediocre Producer. I am Trey, the mediocre producer, along with the well above average producer, Micah Salas. All right, so let's get into last week, shall we? You know the drill.
Yeah. Stats, please.
200 calls made,
Oh, there you
21
go,
21 decision maker discussions, 3 appointments set.
dude.
I listened back to the last couple of episodes and I was like, what a little bitch. I'm just making excuse. First thing I do every time is I hedge against my excuse of why I didn't make my calls. And granted, some of them are valid. But like
Yeah,
when you lead like that for 3 weeks in a row, I'm listening to myself and I'm like,
it's a
you sound
pattern.
like a little bit. You sound like a little bitch.
I told you,
So
like that one producer was like, "How could Trey not make 200 calls? It's pathetic, man. I used to make 300." I was like, dude, So the people spoke, but hey, 200. I get it. When you're part-time nanny, it's tough. Part-time manny. Yeah.
yeah, if you listen, you know the deal. I'm not going to go into it. There'll just be more excuses. So,
Okay,
anyways,
so no, well, congrats. That's awesome. But and the interesting thing, and I'll let you continue is, dude, your talk to meeting ratio, or I'm sorry, your meeting to talk ratio, it's like right in line with all your ratios are in line with everything I tested out like 7, 8 years ago, 9 years ago now when I first kept like numbers for a whole year, which is that 1 in 10, basically, you're talking to someone, and then the meeting, 1 in 7, that's right there. So now again, I think I asked you this last week. You don't are you Did you not keep follow-up laters, or just you didn't have any last week? Because I'll usually have a meeting. I'll be like, okay, I set 2 meetings, and I had like 5 other people that said follow up later, and following back in a month or 3 weeks. It was a good conversation, but didn't set a
mm,
meeting.
I don't keep that as a stat, but I do have this. I don't have any. And you know what? I can guarantee you I'm doing.
You're lumping meetings
Uh,
with follow-up laters.
no,
Oh,
no.
okay.
Come on. Give me a little more credit than that. Um, I am setting the task in the moment in Insurance X date. But I'm not then manually writing it in on my sheet.
Oh, yeah. I
Um,
yeah, I knew you're using your CRM to follow up later, but you're just not writing the list.
Correct.
And I just You don't have to listen to me if you don't want to, but the reason I like to, well, one, to this is a mental game, right? And so like you're gonna have weeks where you set no meetings or one meeting or whatever, or days where you talk to a ton of people. But to me, I always found like the follow up later does two things. One is just a psychological, like mental deal, like, man, I made some progress today, even if it doesn't look like it on the stat line. And then two, it's just, I think, keeping those in front of your face. There's something about it, just having that piece of paper, adding to it. It's just, yeah. So those are really the two reasons that I would encourage you to do it.
Gotcha.
But
Um, I know you're going to have questions or this, that, and the other, but I want to bring up the conundrum that I'm in and get your take on it.
yeah,
All right, so this is like week 4 or 5, so it's kind of like that part of the cycle where you're getting meetings, you're getting some at bats. I made a presentation, my first due diligence presentation on Friday, which is about right. Week 4 or 5. Wouldn't you say that's fair?
that's I'd say it's ahead of schedule potentially. I mean, but yeah, no, it's good.
And here's what I'm looking at without giving away too much. It is basically a construction related account. Uh, got a lot of transportation exposure. And in Louisiana, there is just not many options at all. And for this particular class of business, there's 2, maybe 3 carriers. I'm going to say it's closer to 2. And so what we're basically looking at is this. I went in, and we've talked about this risk a couple of times on the show, but basically, at first glance, I didn't really see anything. And I talked with you about this, and then come to find out, like, there was a pretty substantial fee that was put on it that I missed on my first go around. We had some questions about kind of how they structured the program, inland marine, FISDAM, who was covering what. I won't go into details, but anyways, at first I was like, oh, there's nothing here. So I was literally going to walk away from it. And then you encouraged me to dig a little deeper, which I did. And then even in my presentation meeting, there was still like some resistance coming up from them about their current program.
Okay.
And so I'm like, I would say they are on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being insanely unhappy and 1 being thrilled to death. I'd say they're a 7 or an 8. But here's the problem that I'm running into is I think that I can, from a strategic quoting standpoint, looking at the rates, I think I can piece together a better mousetrap. I know I can piece together a better mousetrap from a rate standpoint on the inland marine and the GL, and save them, I don't know, 10 grand. And this is probably about 200 and
so 5%
premium. So I told them, it's like, hey, I think I can build a better mousetrap for you, but is this worth you guys leaving for? And that's what y'all need to decide. And over the weekend, as I've been thinking more, I don't want to walk away from the deal, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I don't know if that, in my opinion, I don't know that 5% is worth burning a market over, especially when you've only got 2, maybe 3 options in this state. So if you're spending 200 and I can bring you, something at 190, is that really worth burning one of your markets? Because, I don't think it is. So like, have you ever been in the situation where it is purely a cost play and they're coming to you being like, yeah, I mean, you saved me, 5% and I'm gone, but you're sitting here advocating to them like, listen, I hear you. And I know that every dollar counts. I just don't think this is the best play long term for you, especially you guys being such an odd, hard to place class of business. What is your take?
Yeah. Well, a couple thoughts. First of all, back to, you said they're probably on a level 8 in terms of unhappiness. Is that directed towards their agent? Is that directed towards their insurance program? Is that just their overall feeling about insurance in general? Because the cost is too high, you think? Or like, did you drill down on that any?
Yeah, I mean, the agent is I wouldn't call him a family friend, but he's a friend of one of the owners. Not like best friend, but just, they're acquaintances, grew up together. But it's just one of those things. They just keep getting handed 20% increases every year, and they're not having losses. And so some of that ire is directed at the agent, because I feel like the agent overpromised, and some of it is at the market. Excuse me. So it's just, I think that they think it's their agent, and I think it's the market and the agent communicating poorly. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Okay.
So it's almost
which I've had a lot of those conversations this year with prospects. There's a lot of that going on where I literally almost walk away. Like that one where I got the wine bottles. The guy was like, "We just can't get these price increases every year." I'm like, "So you're really?" But then I drilled down to it. He's really not unhappy with his agent. It really came down to his price, and his agents just communicating with him what the market has to bear, right? We're just the middlemen. So it's like, don't shoot the messenger, but sometimes we're the messengers, and sometimes you almost have to defend other agents, even though you're not even defending them. You're just basically telling them, the client, how it is, and it might appear like you're kind of backing up what the agent says, right? But there's some agents that would say never do that,
But I feel like this goes to that radical transparency thing where it's like, you just have to lay the cards out on the table, whether it wins you the deal or not, right? Because it's the right, number one, it's the right thing to do.
Yep.
Go ahead. I feel like I'm cutting you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to tell you that because so I asked you, level 7 to 8 of fountain happiness. What was that directed towards? And basically, it sounds like it's a market thing, a cost thing. And so the only play you can make, to be totally transparent, is to come back to them and be like, "Hey, I think we could save you X if we quoted, but I don't think that's in your best interest. Here's what you really got to go with one agent. There's 3 markets. Either stay with your current guy. You could bring me on. I don't know if you know that you're paying somebody 25 grand a year. And so if you don't feel like you're getting the right communication, like your guy's not forward thinking enough or trying to think outside the box, bringing other ideas to the table, maybe you got to ask yourself, who do I want to pay that commission to? I'm not telling you to fire your guy, but if you feel like it's time to make a change, I can certainly step in. I'd love to work with you all, but I'm trying to tell you what if you were my brother-in-law or my uncle, this is what I would tell them. And so, that's how I talk to prospects a lot. And that was that one deal that I'd won last year. We got an AOR like 10 days prior. Like we tried kind of marketing it, put some feelers out there, and I just came back to her. I was like, hey, you told me you're unhappy with the service, and like renewals are always late every year. I said, you can keep paying this company 30K of commission, or you can just pay it to me and I'll improve that for you. But I can't really improve your cost. I know you're frustrated with the cost of your vehicles. And she signed the AORs. So it's like,
That's insane.
it doesn't always work out that way. And maybe it's a long-term play, but you save yourself a bunch of time. That's the other side of it too. Like, on the whole quoting game and all that stuff. But you can kind of walk away knowing like, hey, you told the client and the prospect what's best for them. And so I think you kind of know what to do at this point. Like I don't have to tell you. I think I can tell. So
Sure. All right.
but bring up the commission specifically. I think
That's a good
dropping I just like to let them soak on that for a little bit. Like you're paying this guy 25 grand a year. You told me that the communication's kind of crappy. Like that's what an agent's job is, to communicate. I mean, and to negotiate on your behalf, but also to communicate and to keep you abreast of what's going on in the market. And if you don't feel like you're getting that, there's other people who can provide it for you. So
touche. All right. Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap this up?
no, just curious. So you've been doing this we're 4 weeks in,
Okay, so
or 5?
we
Last week was the 4th.
Yes, but we actually had a 0
okay.
where we introduced it. So it was like week 1. So when we do I remember on the last one, like we say, oh, and this is week 4, but on the thing it says, comp 003. Because we actually had a comp episode. So I don't know what week it is, irrelevant. If 4 or 5 weeks, whatever.
Yeah.
But I need to did you write down my totals on everything? I need to go back and
I read them as you tell me. Like I'm writing them here, but I don't keep a compilation. But yeah, it would be.
I'm going to go back and listen, and I'm going to total it up. And maybe next episode we kind of do like a 5-week review or 6, whatever it is.
Yeah, next week. Well, so this week, hopefully you can hit your 200 again. That was awesome. But then come back next week with like your aggregate stats, and then also the list of all the meetings that you have, specifically like the name. We're not gonna share the names of your prospects, but like I want to just kind of get a feel for, okay, who is the meetings, and let's like target it on where they're all at, like timelines and pipeline, and just estimate revenue.
Gotcha.
But, yeah, and then you can fill us in next week how it goes when you talk with this prospect we just chatted about.
Yeah, I mean, I presented on Friday, and they're going to keep it around.
I do have a question. Why did you make how were you able to, literally, you improved your cold calling numbers by almost 100%. I mean, you're up 80% to go from 120 to 200, pretty much averaging. Is that an 80% increase? I think it is. Right? Yeah.
Your public math is really not good.
No, it is, because you take 80 divided by 120, or I don't know.
Prepping, having my list ready the day before.
Okay. Every day you walked in knowing the 40 you're going to make?
Uh-huh.
How much time did you spend prepping?
Probably an hour and a half.
On Monday or every day? Like at the end of each day, you prep for the next day?
At the end of each day.
Okay.
But it's not like, it wasn't like boring work. It's like I crank up the tunes, or I might have like Joe Rogan on in the background, and be going through and like scrubbing the list. It was a very intense block of work.
Cool.
But having that name, and then so like using X date as I then set them for a follow up tomorrow, right? So then when I come in, I'm literally on the calendar just going boop, dial, boop, dial.
Yeah. You walk in with 25 calls already preloaded that you know you're going to make.
I had 40 preloaded.
Yeah, that'll start to, as you phase those out, some days you might have 20, some days you might have 40, well, cool. No, that's important.
So I have zero preloaded. I have zero preloaded for today. And also I tried to hit 20 on the Monday afternoon, but then I had to roll over that other 20 into the other 4 days. But it's not bad. It's only an extra 5, per day.
I do that most Mondays. I probably only get out 25 to 30. So it's like, because I don't start until the afternoon or 11, usually around 11 o'clock, or I'll try to make like 10 calls between 11 and noon and whatever. So, well, no, man,
I'm still much slow. I'm much slower than you are. I mean, it takes 2 solid 2-hour call blocks. So it takes me solid 4 hours to get through 40 names.
Yeah. And I would say that really should be, man, because you texted me last week and I was just hitting a call block and I busted out like 25 calls in an hour. I'm like, how's it taking you? I guess we'll have to drill down on that maybe on another episode, but I still think, I still know if you have preloaded calls in there, you should be able to, that should be a 2-hour session. 40 if you're totally focused.
Maybe I'm just so much better on the phone that in extending conversations that I'm just getting more, like football time of possession. I've just got more time of possession. I think that's what it is.
Or maybe I just know how to cut my losses quicker and I just like, he's not out. Hang up.
Maybe I'm just way better at pre-qualifying. All right, dude. Well, let's end this thing. I'll let you run. Right. Appreciate your help as always.
Next week. Yep.
All right.